Forget them. Forget your family. Only listen to me, she said. But suddenly, a sharp pain struck her. Alara gasped. Her hand disappeared for a moment, like smoke caught in a breeze. Her red eyes grew wide and her form seemed to be transforming into a monster. Alara screamed, the light from Amara's prayer growing stronger, wrapping around her like a chain, pulling her away. The wind howled, her shadow becoming thinner and thinner. No, I won't go back. In an African village long forgotten, there was a beautiful girl named Alara. She lived in a peaceful village filled with the sounds of laughter and joy. She loved dancing in the fields with her friends, her heart full of dreams. But one night, as she walked home alone under the stars, her world turned dark. A group of wicked men, strangers to her village, attacked her. They were merciless. Their eyes looked cold and their laughter cruel. Alara fought, but she was only one against many. In that moment, they stole her innocence, her future, and her life. The villagers found her the next morning, lifeless, her eyes wide open, staring blankly at the sky. Her spirit, instead of finding peace, was filled with pain, sadness, and anger. She wandered the dark places between the world of the living and the underworld, crying out, unable to rest. No one could hear her screams, no one to comfort her broken heart. Then one day, deep in the dark shadows of the underworld, Alara was found by some dark spirits. They were ancient and powerful, and they spoke to her, and their voices echoed like the wind through the forest. "Why do you cry, young spirit?" one of the dark spirits asked, sounding like 1,000 whispers at once. Alara's eyes, still filled with tears, replied, "I lost my life, my laughter, my dreams. The wicked men took everything from me." The spirits shifted, and their shadows swirling like smoke. "We can give you something in return, child," another voice said, deeper and more chilling. "We can give you a chance to go back, a chance to make them all pay." Alara looked up, her eyes burning with the anger she had carried for so long. "Make them pay," she repeated, her voice trembling. "Yes," the spirits hissed, circling around her. "Go back to the land of the living. Seek out those like them, men who are wicked, who hurt others, and make them lose everything, just as you lost everything. But," the voice grew darker, "you must become one of us. No more laughter, no more love, only vengeance." Alara closed her eyes, thinking of her lost life, the way she had been left alone in the cold. Her sorrow turned into rage, and she nodded. "I accept," she whispered. The spirits laughed, and their laughter echoed through the shadows. "Then go, Alara. Let the world remember the power of vengeance." Back on Earth, Alara appeared in a town under a moonless sky. She was beautiful, dressed in a flowing gown, her hair shining like black silk. But her eyes held no warmth, only the memory of her pain and the cold promise of revenge. She started her journey, visiting one man after another, each time destroying them piece by piece. She met Tunde, who was charming but careless with the hearts of others. He lost his friends, his job, and finally his will to laugh. She met Kunle, who loved his wealth above all else, and she made sure he spent every last coin until he was left with nothing. She found Ayo, who lied to women and treated them poorly. She led him into a trap of his own making, leaving him lonely and lost, with no one to lie to. Finally, Alara found Femi. He was kind but weak. He loved his wife, Amara, but he was tempted by Alara's beauty and charm. Soon, Femi found himself pulled into her web, spending every day with her, leaving behind his family. He grew more tired each day, his eyes darker, his laughter gone. One late night, Femi came home, his eyes empty as he whispered Alara's name. Amara sat waiting, her heart breaking. She looked at him, and with her voice trembling, she said, "Femi, what happened to you? This isn't you. Come back to me, to our family." Femi looked at her, but it was like he couldn't hear. Alara's shadow was wrapped around his heart. Amara, filled with love and pain, decided to fight back. She remembered her grandmother's teachings, the prayers she had learned as a child. She knelt down beside her bed, with her heart heavy as she began to pray aloud. "God, help me. I need you. Bring my husband back to me," she cried, her voice filled with desperation and hope. With time, the air in their small house seemed to change. A light began to grow, and Amara's words became stronger, more powerful. Far away, Alara was with Femi, her fingers brushing his arm as she whispered to him, "Forget them. Forget your family. Only listen to me," she said. But suddenly, a sharp pain struck her. Alara gasped. Her hand disappeared for a moment, like smoke caught in a breeze. Her red eyes grew wide and her form seemed to be transforming into a monster. "No, this cannot be," she screamed, and her voice echoed. The darkness around her seemed to tremble as Amara's prayers reached her. "Femi, I love you," Amara's voice called out. "Come back to us." Alara's hands began to fade, her shadowy form began shaking. Femi blinked, looking at her with clearer eyes. "Alara, what are you?" he whispered, and for the first time, he saw her not as the enchanting beauty, but as the broken spirit she truly was. Her face twisted in sorrow, her body shaking as though ready to fall apart. "Please, I didn't want this," Alara cried with her voice breaking. "I wanted to be whole again." "But destroying others won't make you whole," Femi said softly, tears filling his eyes. He saw the pain she carried, the weight of all her anger and grief. Alara screamed, the light from Amara's prayer growing stronger, wrapping around her like a chain, pulling her away. The wind howled, her shadow becoming thinner and thinner. "No, I won't go back," she screamed, but it was too late. The chains of light pulled her down, back into the dark world from where she had come. Her form disappeared in a final cry of anguish. Femi struggled to reach his home. As he stepped into his house, he collapsed to the ground. His heart was pounding as he gasped for breath. Amara ran to him, her tears falling freely as she held him close, her arms trembling. "I have you, Femi. I have you," she whispered, with her heart aching. Femi looked up at her, tears in his eyes. "Amara, I'm so sorry. I almost lost everything. I almost lost you." Amara smiled through her tears, her voice soft but full of love. "You're back now. That's all that matters. We will face everything together." As the sun rose, filling their home with light, Femi and Amara held each other, knowing the road ahead would be hard, but they were ready to rebuild. They had faced the darkness, and they had won, through love, through hope. Deep in the shadows of the underworld, Alara's screams echoed, her spirit torn between sorrow and rage. She was once again trapped, her heart unable to find peace. The dark spirits laughed at her suffering. "Failed, Alara," one spirit hissed. "Love is stronger than your vengeance." Alara closed her eyes. Tears of darkness streamed down her face. Her heart, still heavy, could not find rest. The darkness wrapped around her like chains, cold and unyielding. "Maybe one day you will understand. What if we told you you could have another chance to hunt down the men who snatched your life away from you?" As the voices whispered, fading into the shadows, leaving her alone in her endless torment, she screamed at them saying, "Yes, I want another chance. I want another chance." And her voice was lost in the shadows. In our darkest moments, it is love, hope, and courage that guide us back to the light. Seeking revenge may seem like a way to heal pain, but it only deepens the wound. Real strength lies in forgiveness, in love that refuses to give up, even when faced with the greatest darkness. But sometimes the darkness still waits, hoping for another chance, whispering softly in the shadows,